Average Woodsman here, back with another video. So today I wanted to go over some of my personal favorite long-term food gathering items. So we're talking this is not like emergency survival. This is not, you know, the 24 to 72 hour, 1 to 3 day emergency situation. We're talking long-term. So homestead, SHTF, grid down, whatever it may be. Even just if you're a guy who likes to get out and learn new skills, these are items that you can use as long as you're legally able to use them in your area that can aid in your long-term survivability for you to gather food, meat, resources over time. So I'm going to get everything out. I'm going to go over each one of them. I'm going to show you how to set these items up, how they work. I'm not going to do the actual real sets because I'm not out here trapping today or gathering food. But I do want to show you guys these items because they're useful and how to use them to give you guys an idea of what to carry and then how to use these items for long-term survivability. So let's go ahead and get into the video. All right, so the first items that I want to talk about the first item I want to talk about is on the water's edge. So if you're around any body of water that has life, everything else in that surrounding area is going to go there, whether that be deer, like here in Florida, hogs, raccoons, possums. All these animals are going to get they're going to use this as their water source. So look for tracks and things like that. Also pay attention to your local flora, so you know what the surrounding items are, like if you have something that are wild edibles, things like that. And if there are any fish in the water. Now, I don't know if there are any fish in this water. I've never fished this lake, but I'm going to show you guys how to set up one of my personal favorite items to use, which is a yo-yo fishing reel. It's a passive fishing method that you can use, and if you carry 4, 5, 6 of them in your kit, they're small, they're lightweight, and that you can preset them and then just attach them to something right on the water's edge, and you don't have to sit there with a rod and reel or like a hand reel and throw your line out over and over again. You can set these and then come back. Anything and everything that's going to be in this water, whether that be turtles, fish, whatever, even snakes and things like that, you can catch, and then you can come back and harvest and process those animals down or those fish down or whatever they are, and use that food. So you can consume that food, and then if you want to, you can use the guts for bait, whatever you need to do. So that's why I like to use these. They work really well. One thing that I 100% know is on this water or around this lake, this small pond, are frogs, because I've seen them and I've heard them. So one thing that I would probably do next time if I were to camp around this lake or look for food around this pond is I would bring my fish / frog gig. I've shown it in other videos. It's a small, has 4 prongs. All you have to do is make a stick for it and it locks right in, and you have the ability to gig frogs and even fish too, but mainly frogs. So you can have those, that's a good food source, especially around water. But what I like to do is I like to carry mine in this little small Plano tackle box here. And what I'll do, let me show you guys. What I like to do is I'll carry 4 of these fishing reels, these yo-yo fishing reels, and I'll carry some additional hooks and line in here. And then I like to carry these catfish nuggets. Excuse me. These catfish nuggets, I believe they're Berkeley makes them, but they're really stinky and they work really well, and they're almost like they have the texture of like white bread, so they smush really well to it, and they have a lot of smell to them. And I've used these in other videos to catch panfish like bluegill, and they work really, really well. So what I'll do is I'll carry some of these in this little kit right here, and that gives me the ability to not have to search for bait around this water source. I have to dig for, like night crawlers or look for grubs or stuff like that, try and find bait. I already have bait with me in my kit, so I can set these up quickly on the fly. So what I like to do is I like to have mine preset. So you have this this little swivel here, and I like to attach just some regular mono to it and then a small hook. Remember, small hooks can catch all fish, big hooks only catch big fish. So use a small hook, and that's what you want to use on these, because more than likely you're probably going to catch bluegill and other panfish. You're probably not going to catch some massive bass or catfish or something like that. It's just not as realistic. All right, so this is probably my favorite passive fishing method because of how convenient it is and how well it works. So basically how it works is you would set this up and then you would pull this out to whatever, you know, distance that you want to use this, and then you literally just set the trigger right there, and then when something takes the bait, it literally pulls this, sets the hook on them. It's literally that simple. So what I'll usually do is I'll take just a little bit of this stuff and just chum the water. Like I said, I don't know if there are any fish in here at all. I've never fished this lake. I have no idea. It doesn't look like it's teeming with life. I haven't seen a bunch of minnows or panfish along the bank, so there may not be even any fish in here. But we will find out once I set this and go ahead and throw this out. So I'm going to tie this off to this tree right here. If you guys can see this, make sure you guys can see. I'm not tying any type of special knot or anything like that, just tying it quickly to the tree. And then what I'll do, I'll take just a little bit of this catfish bait and I'll smush it along the end of this hook, just like how you would do with like a bread ball. If you've ever fished with like a bread ball, something like that, that's what I like to do. I'm going to get a nice, decent amount of line out here so I can toss this out. Set this right there. It's all set. Now what I'll do is I'll just throw this out into the water. Let it sit just like that. See if I can get this for you guys so you guys can see. See that? You can see that line goes way out there. Now, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to catch anything. No idea. But it's set, and if I set 3 or 4 or 5 more of these, now my odds have went up greatly. All right, guys. So when I'm out like this, sometimes I'll carry my trap basket, but a lot of times I'll just carry my traps wrapped in like a bandana or in a shamag inside of this Dyneema bag. It works really well. This Dyneema bag is really lightweight. It's pretty good capacity, and I can fit a lot in here. It doesn't have all my traps and all my stuff for today, but it has some of it. This area right here is teeming with signs of squirrels. So I've seen a lot of acorns. You have a heavily wooded area with a lot of pines and a lot of oaks. Especially squirrels, gray squirrels, they love to live in oak trees. They nest there. They use them for food, as a food source. So look for areas like that. Another thing are these heavy-duty steel rat traps. Caught a lot of rats, mice, squirrels. With these, they will kill a squirrel. All right, guys. So what I'll do is I'll carry a couple of these steel rat traps, these heavy-duty steel rat traps, and these ones have killed quite a few rats. They've killed quite a few squirrels. We have a lot of squirrels on our property, and they tend to get into our chicken coop when we open up our chicken coop to let the chickens graze around the yard and dig up the bugs and things like that. We like to do that, and what will happen is the squirrels will come in and they'll eat our chicken feed. So I've used these steel traps and 110 conibears, which I'll do in a different video. I'm going to do the 110 conibears in a different video. Honestly, the 110 conibears is like the squirrel killing machine. But these work really well, and they're a lot easier for people to set, and they'll kill a lot of other animals too. So what I like to do is I'll take and I'll hammer a nail down into an area like this where I know there's a lot of squirrels, and then I'll just take some peanut butter, which I'll carry with me. I carry these little individual jiffies right here, and I'll take just a little bit with my finger and I'll smush it on here, just like that. Literally that simple. And now I can set 2 or 3 of these, 4 of these, however many I carry with me, and they're really easy. Show you guys how easy these are to set. These are very, very, very heavy duty. They have a lot of killing power. And then I'll set mine with a real hair trigger. Just like that. And now this is nailed to this log, so when that squirrel comes along here and starts eating at that peanut butter, which this is one of the reasons why I like to put peanut butter instead of cheese or something like that on here, because I can smear this and they have to eat it, and to get it all off they have to really put in a little bit of work to do it. And then what will happen is that squirrel will come over here, start eating at this, and hit that pan. But remember, these will also work for rats and mice and other types of small animals, small rodent-sized animals. And you can kill anything from a squirrel down to a mouse with something like this. And they work really well, and they take virtually no skill to use. This is not something that you have to practice a lot with. You literally just set it like any other mouse trap or rat trap, but it has a lot more killing power because this spring and these ridges here, they tend to really do a good job of killing. Like I said, I've killed a lot of squirrels with these and a lot of rats on our property because we have quite a few with the chickens and the quail, and we have a lot of other animals, so they work really well. All right, so right behind me, that looks like an area where a raccoon was foraging. Now, if you don't know about raccoons, raccoons tend to be very clever and destructive foragers. So what they'll do is they'll dig areas up, they'll destroy logs, down trees, things like that, and they'll also dig up leaf litters, areas in the ground looking for insects and other types of foods. So that's exactly what that looks like. Also, when raccoons climb, they tend to be kind of destructive with climbing too. They tend to leave a lot of scratch marks, and on this oak tree right here, there's a bunch of scratch marks on it. So this looks like a good area where there could be raccoons. And my favorite trap for raccoons is a coon cuff. I'll actually put in a video from a raccoon I caught recently on our property who was eating our quail. So I caught him on a coon cuff. I'll probably put in me skinning him or a picture of the hide or something like that in this video just for a second so you guys can see that.
Finished product.
He was a large male raccoon, probably 30 pounds or so. So since this is such a good area, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my coon cuff here in the ground in between the log and the tree that this raccoon has clearly been climbing. So if you've never used this, these things are kind of a pain to get your first couple times. All right, so how this works is you have down in here this little trigger, and you have your dog, and you just use your hands to compress this down in here, and there's your trigger mechanism right there that you set your dog in. Now basically what would happen, like I said, I'm not actually going to set this because I'm not actually out here trapping today. I'll show you guys how to set it up, but I'm not actually going to keep it out here. So what you would do is you would take your bait and put your bait down in here. My favorite bait for raccoons is cat food. I like cat food, and this is a dog safe trap. So a dog, a cat, they're not going to be able to get their hands down in here long enough like a raccoon. Raccoons have those really narrow paws that they can get down in here and dig in this, and they'll trip that mechanism down inside there. So this is safe for things like animals like dogs and cats and stuff like that. My favorite is cat food. It tends to work the best in my opinion. Also, I've used sardines too. Sardines work really well. Either one of those are good. I don't want to waste any cat food because cat food isn't cheap. But what you would do before you set this, you would smear a bunch of cat food down in there, and then you would set your trap. And I'll show you exactly how to put this trap in, or how I like to set it. So this is what it will look like set. Now, let me show you guys. I like to carry these stakes. I'll carry a bunch in my kit, my shelter kit, so I'll carry an extra 4 or 5 of these. So I'll carry maybe 8 to 10 of these in my kit. They're lightweight, they don't take up a lot of room. And then 2 of them I'll have bank line attached to. And what you do is you'll take this, and it has this portion on the bottom, and you would drill this down into the ground as good as possible. Make sure it's really in there. Then you could take this portion right here, this chain, and you could actually attach that to a tree, or if you wanted to cable it to a tree or a stump or something like that. But I like to drive it into the ground, and I have 2 of these with bank line on them. And then what I'll do is I'll take the bank line and I'll put these into the ground, deep into the ground on each side, locking this in. Now, if a raccoon did come and get his hand in here, his paw, even if he was able to pull this out of the ground, this is not going anywhere. Like, I literally cannot pull this out at all. It's not going anywhere. So this is secured into the ground. So that means, you know, the next morning or that night, I could come back, check this trap, and boom, we're good to go. So let me show you exactly how this works. Because it has, the dog is attached to this down here, this lever. It's like a lever that goes up and down. When the raccoon goes down in here to start foraging around inside here, just like that. That's all it took. Super hair trigger. He'll go to pull and dig and forage inside this, trying to get your bait, and now his hand, his whole arm is caught in this trap, and he's not going anywhere. Talk about really quick. With something like when you're trapping, you're going to want to cover up your scent. So what I like to do, and since I'm not actually setting these traps for trapping out here, this is purely for demonstrational purposes. I'm not wearing gloves and stuff like that. When I have a separate pair of gloves that I wear when I'm setting these traps. I have a pair of leather gloves that I'll use sometimes, and I also have a pair of rubber gloves that I'll use. You can use either one as long as they're set aside specifically for when you're setting these traps. So I like to do that personally. And then another thing I like to do is you can carry a mat with you, or something to put on the ground. I like to use the one of my heavy meal trash bags. I already have them in my kit, and I'll lay the heavy meal trash bag down to put my knees on, just so I don't spread any of my scent. Now, in my experience, this is just my personal experience, I have not had to worry as much with scent with the coon cuffs as I had for coyote. When you're setting foot traps for coyote, I've noticed that what they'll do, if your scent's on it, they'll dig, which I'm going to do a separate video on the foot traps for coyotes. But what they'll do is they'll actually dig your trap up around it, and you won't get them in the trap. Just try to be mindful about your scent and not leaving it everywhere. Like I said, this is purely for demonstrational purposes, so I'm not really worried about that because I'm not actually setting these traps. But when I do set these traps and I do catch squirrels and raccoons and coyotes and stuff like that, these nuisance animals on my property, I will make sure that I'm more mindful of my scent with them. So wear gloves, put something down. Alright guys, so that's the video. Remember, you need to carry these items in your kit. They are specifically for a longer term survival slash sustainability. You know, like I stated previously, a homestead, SHTF. Maybe you just want to learn these skills because you want to go out and get your trapper's license, or you have nuisance animals on your property. You need to know these skills and have these items in your kit, in your repertoire, so you have that when you need it. Just remember also that this was purely for demonstrational purposes, so I'm not wearing gloves. I'm not trying to cover up my scent. I think in the next video, when I do my other the other three items that I think that you should have, it's going to be a video series of, you know, 2, maybe 3 videos total. I'll show you guys what gloves I use and how I do everything when I'm really worried about my scent. So that's the video. Remember to like, subscribe, share these videos with your friends and family. Be safe, stay dangerous, and I'll catch you in the next one.